What?
I second that.
Oh, of course you would. All right. Well, I think it's 6:30.
Yes.
So, I call this meeting to order and I am going to take attendance. Joan Coco.
Live
Oh.
mute.
Hi, Joan.
Hi.
Rosemarie.
Here.
Karen Fontino. Here. Karen Janowski.
Yeah.
John Parsons.
Here.
Karen Panett. No. Jean Prado.
Here.
And Marilyn.
Here.
Sorry, I just gotta stay with the chairs.
And Deborah Small.
You here for rec committee? Yes. We're down in the burger room. What's that? So we're down here.
And Nancy T.
Here.
And Jackie Bahena. And Linda Connors. And, Beverly Kuno, sadly.
I'll just sit, I'm fine, I'm an extra, so I'll sit right here.
I just called you.
You Just
Oh.
called me?
Linda?
Yes.
No, I called your name.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna put
I'm
here.
Exactly. room here. No, I'm fine, okay?
Oh, no, join the table. You
Yeah.
can't sit back there.
All right. Let me use the bathroom first and I will be right back, all right?
Sally Hoyt. And Nancy Zuma. Okay, so we're good to go. Approve August minutes. We had 2 sets of minutes that Nancy T so nicely, let me introduce our guest tonight. We have Nora, who I think a lot of people know because she's been here before, also on the recount committee. And we have Charlotte, who is a member of the Friends of Reading 60-plussers. So, and she's absolutely wonderful. She's the treasurer.
Thank you, Nancy.
That's what she was. I have wonderful things to say about your group. Okay, so how about we take the minutes one at a time?
Vote to approve the August 14th, 2023 minutes.
All in favor? Oh, I have to call the roll. Okay. All in favor to accept the minutes of 8:14? Joan Coco,
Yes.
Rosemarie,
Yes.
Karen, Fontina,
Yes.
John Parsons,
Excuse me.
Karen Janowski,
Yes.
Karen Panett.
Yes.
Oh, good, yes.
She's here.
Jean Prado
Yes.
and Marilyn
Yes.
and Deborah Small and Nancy T.
Yes.
And Jackie's not here. Linda Connors is in the ladies. Oh,
I'm here, I just joined.
oh, good. Okay, I'm gonna check
Actually,
you
you
out.
only need to pull.
I know.
Okay.
I just realized that as I went down
As
to
long as we
Nancy
have a
T.
quorum.
So, 8:14 minutes accepted, no corrections. Woo-hoo. All right, next we have the 8:21-23 minutes.
I do have a slight correction. It says Karen Janowski said this. I wasn't at the meeting, so that
Oh.
statement should be removed.
Okay, I think what I said was, you and I had either talked
Yes,
or,
spoken.
yeah, so, but yeah, we can remove
So
it.
either you could say that Nancy reported it, but it made it seem like I was at the
You were
meeting.
at the meeting.
So that's the only change that I wasn't at the meeting really, so.
What would you prefer? Doesn't matter. Strike
Yeah,
it. We'll
strike
strike
it.
it.
So vote to approve, oh wait, I wasn't at the meeting. Oh, no.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Let's go down. Joan Coco, oh,
Yes.
discussion, we're supposed to have discussion, right? No discussion. Joan Coco
Yes.
and Rosemarie,
Yes.
Karen Fontino,
Yes.
Karen Janowski.
Yes.
John Parsons,
Yes.
Karen Panett,
Yes.
and Jean Prado,
Yes.
and Marilyn,
Yes.
and Debbie Small. Not here. Okay, moving right along. Ongoing business, we have the select board and the recalc liaison update. Oh, there's Mark. Would you like to give us a select board update, Mark?
Sure. So the core activity is getting the RFP issued and getting it onto kind of the timeline, the latest timeline. It is in existence. It'll be in the paper this week, and then it goes through a whole series of things. You'll be able to find it on the website as of September 20th. There is a project briefing and facility tour on October 3rd. And then the responses are due in by October 26th. And then a process will go from there to get down to a preferred respondent. And hopefully by November 13th, we're able to execute a contract. So that's kind of the current timeline of things. A lot of, there were some moving parts and pieces in the document, which I think is why it took a little bit longer than we had hoped, although it already was a little bit longer than we had hoped. But it's now moving, and I think you've got a request before you to have a member of the COA join the selection committee, and then Recalc and the select board. Fidel, are all the others town people, or am I missing any other committees? Recalc, COA, select board. I think those are the three.
The permanent building.
PBC. Thank you. Permanent Building Committee would be the fourth. And then go through the selection process, hopefully find a very qualified vendor and get this process going. So that's the main update in terms of what's going on. I don't know if there are any questions that folks may have.
I do. What's the request for proposal for? What are we actually talking about?
This is to do a feasibility study on the potential locations, including obviously Pleasant Street Center and others that would be in consideration. I'd imagine Simon's Way may be one of those, and we'll see if there are others beyond that. And then they're going to go through that process and come back to us with detailed information on what it would look like, what it would take, give us some options to review, and then we'll have discussions about what those options look like and make some decisions on which to try to take forward through the select board, town meeting, and then the voters.
Are they looking at all lands available throughout the town? Just
They will. I
specific
think
spots?
we're going to give them some guidance on things that we think that we know, things that we do know in terms of what might be available or things that we know can't happen. But there's not a lot of time in their process to identify new places, I don't think, not specifically. That's kind of on us to bring forward what might be possible.
Do we have any land around any of the senior housing? We have large parcels of land that belong to the town.
I'm not familiar with any large parcels of land that are available in the town. The one that we did talk about before and should talk about again is Oakland Road, across from the high school, that area. We know a lot about that land because it was being considered for an early childhood center, 10 years ago.
Yep.
So we know a lot about it. At the time it wasn't big enough for what they wanted to do, but given it may be that our needs aren't as substantial as an early childhood center, so maybe that becomes a possibility.
Isn't there a lot of ledge over there?
Tons, tons, but
Yes.
it's well surveyed. They did what's the word? I want to say not diggings, what's soundings. I think that there was a fair amount of information gathered at the time to understand what it would take to do that, and which areas are possible and which areas really are just not a good idea.
Karen?
If you
Karen?
start blasting in that area, you're gonna have a lot of the residents very unhappy and suing the city with broken foundations that are cracked from blasts.
Well, that's gonna be part of the feasibility discussion. So Karen, do you?
So, I know, Mark, one of the things that we discussed at our meeting was the timelines that were included in the RFP. Did they get shortened? What are the timelines now?
Phase one did get shortened specifically, including a statement that we believe that we've done much, if not most of the work already in that section. So I've been brought down to, I think, 1 to 2 months from what I believe was 3 to 4, maybe, or 2 to 3 perhaps, but it's brought down to 1 to 2. So that's shortened. And then, it's really a function of how much work they have to do, how many sites they're going to look at, that may shorten other aspects of the timeline.
Thank you.
And a recalc update, John or Mark or?
Why don't I leave it for Mark, because, he's much more eloquent than I am.
Please, John, I can follow up. So Recalc had formed some committees, and the real goal right now is we realize that there are a lot of questions we want to ask of some other centers around the state and beyond. And that the different committees, one of them is focused on talking about financing. How do you pay for operations? How do you pay for funding programs? One is focused on transportation. One is focused on some program activities. And the other one is focused on kind of briefing whoever we hire for the feasibility study. But again, what we realized is that many of us had questions for some of the same people at different centers. And rather than trying to approach them with 3 or 4 different people, Recalc is trying to put together a list of questions that we think would be appropriate that would get us what we're looking for, so that we could do interviews probably with just a couple of people from the Reading side, talking to people at these other centers. And Jenna, I know, has asked to participate in many of those, and I suspect, Chris, you may want to participate in many of those as well, as you know a lot of the folks that we're talking to. But we're trying to get to this consolidated list so that with one discussion, we're able to get a lot more information and bring it back. So that's kind of where things, that's the next step that's being taken. There's a list that was just published, kind of a master list of all the different questions, and then it's going to be a process of trying to consolidate it to make it kind of a doable either discussion and or survey. But we know that a lot of these questions we're going to have more questions and things that we want to hear about based on what some of the answers are. So I think interviews is kind of the hope in terms of what's going to go on. The one that's most time sensitive in some sense is making sure that once we hire the provider for the feasibility study, that we are able to brief them pretty intensively, so that they don't have a lot more work that they're going to need to do. We're able to give them kind of everything that we've done in a very coordinated fashion, so they're ready to rock and roll.
I could add, Jenna just put that list out mid to late afternoon, so most of us haven't had a chance to really look at it and study it. We do know, in fact, it's something Nancy and I were talking about yesterday working at the fair. Chris is in contact with a lot of these centers as it is, so he knows a lot about what's going on. And at times I wonder if we're not reinventing the wheel on some of this stuff.
So that's the purpose of kind of creating the list of questions and going through them and organizing them, right? Most of the questions that we brought up at our last meeting, we don't know the answers to. So.
I think Chris does, well, Chris knows the answers to a lot of them, and I think that's eventually where all the input is gonna go.
Although I think, sorry, Mark, I understand what John's saying, but I do, I think it's always good to personally, I do think it's good to take a look at the questions because things are evolving quite rapidly nowadays at different centers. So I don't think it hurts. I mean, I don't mind, taking a look and seeing, but I always think it's good to, quickly, formulate a list of questions and see. I don't think there's anything that, because things can be missed quite easily. And this is a time where you probably don't want to miss anything. I get what John's saying is I think, we could probably make sure we're asking the appropriate questions. But I do think it's good personally to kind of, as long as we have the right questions.
Good. And I would encourage Council on Aging members to watch, if you don't actually watch in real time, the recalc meetings, they're on television. And I think it's really important for the Council on Aging to be aware of what's being talked about at these meetings and what's being addressed. It just keeps us all well informed about the process of a new senior center. So that's my 2 cents.
I think, sorry, before we move on, you sent out an email about a designer selection committee.
Yeah, Mark mentioned that as part of the request for publications, we're going to form a group that will pick the designer, and we would like a member of the COA to be appointed to it.
All right, we will get back to you on that.
Sorry, I saw the email, I just didn't want to get missed.
If anybody's interested, send me an email. And
When do we need one picked? By the 20th, by the time the person's chosen? Okay. Yeah, we're meeting again.
I have one comment. My hand's up.
Yeah,
Didn't we already have representatives visit various other senior centers? Didn't we already do that?
Definitely. And we're not asking the same questions at all. So some great examples. Let's start with this. How do the different groups fund their operations? How much money do they raise from outside groups? Do they get any foundation grants? How do they do that? Are there private donations that are made that go towards specific things? I mean, those are just some examples of things. State aid, additional state aid. How do you what grants are they able to get? What kinds of things are they able to get? These are questions we didn't ask last time, and we want to find out what's going on. We asked nothing about transportation last time other than, do they have a van? So there's quite a bit of information that we want to get. That's, kind of what Recalc's next activity is to kind of gather that information. And again, bring it back and feed this into the folks that doing the feasibility study are going to work on.
I agree that it's probably a good idea to ask some of these other questions about transportation. But one thing I started with was talking to people at the Pleasant Street Center. And Chris assures me, everybody who wants to go to a program gets to a program. So I went upstairs and talked to Kerry Elise, and they assured me that every single person who needs a medical ride is getting it. Do we have a problem? I think Chris is gonna tell me we don't.
I think overall we do not, but I'm trying to think long-term here. We currently do not have a transportation problem. Everyone who needs a ride gets a ride. We have ATS. But I've been thinking about this because I watched the last Recalc meeting, and I've been tossing this over in my head for a little while now. And I kind of rethought about it for a second. Yes, we don't have an issue, but it doesn't mean to say we won't later on. So even if we, you know, maybe there is something else some other center is doing. And it could make it easier later on, be like, all right, we have a new center, but maybe we lost something. Maybe we don't have, something happened, who knows what it might be. But if we have the information from what we collected from going to other places, it's probably not a bad idea to have that. So we can, rather than at that time going to other places when we don't have a recalc committee or people or the manpower, probably is good to, you know, to be able to go into that paperwork and be like, all right, you know, we could take this. This is what whatever town was doing. Does that make any sense? I hope that,
Yeah.
in my head it did.
Marilyn?
Two things. One, it's hard to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't doubt for a minute anyone that asks for help gets it. I don't have any data one way or the other. I don't think anyone else does either on who doesn't know to ask. So we don't really know. And when you look at the people who are at the center that got to the programs, well, they got there. So clearly they found transportation. Again, we don't know. So I get very uncomfortable when we say we know anyone who wants it gets it.
Yeah.
We know anyone who asks for it gets it, but that's still only about a third. It's a lot, but it's only about a third.
But
The other one is there's a survey coming out from the Board of Health soon. And I haven't seen the final questions, but they included questions about is transportation things like medical care an issue? So we might get some more insight from that.
But John is correct. As of right now, that we are aware of, we don't know there's no issue. With the two vans, with, you know, technically in a way, 1 full-time driver, 3 backup drivers. But the thing that also puts us apart from a lot of other towns is we have ATS. This would be a completely different conversation if we did not have ATS. But thankfully we have ATS and that funding to be able to get people that medical. Because I know like Somerville, they had to put money into their budget and they started using taxis to get people to medical appointments and to the grocery store. But, you know, nice thing is we can take care of the grocery store and we have ATS to be able to do medical appointments. So I have to say we're really grateful that we have that funding and ATS for that.
What is ATS?
Let me just mention one thing that I have run across that I think is very interesting on transportation. It was pointed out to me that the town of Andover has got a much bigger tax write-off program than Reading currently has. We used to have a bigger one than we have now. And where that falls into the transportation, they use people for the tax write-off program to provide rides. So the reason it works so well is these people are getting funds off of their taxes and they get paid mileage. So they're getting some really great benefits. And I think that's the most innovative and most interesting thing I've run across so far. I mentioned it to Recalc, so Recalc, people who are Recalc, I've heard this before, but I know not everybody on the council has heard that.
So I think,
Really quickly, sorry. Rosemary, alternative transportation, that's what ATS is. Sorry, thank you.
okay. I was gonna say that I'm sure Recalc would appreciate any Council on Aging members that would like to volunteer to be part of their committees as they do outreach. And as Marilyn and John and Chris have reiterated, that the Recalc is asking new questions, different questions. So whatever we can do to support them, I think we should do.
One last fun fact.
30 seconds, you got
Yeah,
10 seconds.
Andover also has a bus route, a standard, all people can get on the bus route, and the senior center is an endpoint on one of those routes, so that helps them too. So.
Great. Well, Recalc, I think, could probably use a few more volunteers to help with this. If anybody's interested, you should contact them. So let's talk about Simon's Way. What's happening with Simon's Way?
Simon's Way, we were going to have a meeting this week just to discuss the dog park presentation, and that is canceled due to no lack of quorum. but the RFI, request for information, did go out. What we want to find out is if there will be a business town partnership, private-public partnership, to see in terms of developing that area. So that RFI has gone out, and it's, the deadline for that is September 28th. And then we will have a SWEC meeting after that, where we will discuss the RFI submissions as well as the dog park presentation.
Okay. Questions? Thank you, Karen. That brings us to Chris's Elder Services Report.
All right,
Does anybody need copies?
get some paper copies if anyone needs them.
Yeah.
I have to say, we have done, we've had a really good start to the beginning of the year. When I say year, July, fiscal year, so I always look at July to into June when I'm running numbers and statistics and stuff. August, as you can see at the top, we had some really good events. Our numbers continue to increase, which is good. Lunch and Learn was great. We had the visiting nurse and community care come in and do a lecture on end of life transitions. I'm going to shout out to Attorney Crawley. He's been doing some pro bono work once a month, offering some services. Pizza and a Movie, birthday lunch, as you can see, numbers have gone up for both of those, which is really exciting. Wellness Wednesday, we had on 16th. We're still pulling in really good numbers for their Wellness Wednesday. Elisa's still working, continue to work on patient portal one-on-ones. It's slowly taken off, which is really good, but the key part is it's starting to take off. I don't think a lot of older adults know what the patient portal is. And I think after I've announced that a couple of times at a few larger events, more people kind of are taking notice, and asking for a little bit of help, which is good. We had a really good Let's Get Digital with Ben Cares and Nancy on August 24th. And I really quickly want to just do a shout out to the DPW that came by and trimmed the bushes around the center. So thank you to the DPW. I have to say the DPW has really been on top of a lot of things at the center, and I really appreciate that. So they have responded quickly. The response time is usually tied to weather. It's been a crazy weather this summer, but once they have a window, I usually find that they're out there, which is I'm really grateful for. So thank you to them. As you can see, our numbers have been really good in the statistics charts. Just to make sure everyone knows, duplicated, unduplicated. Unduplicated is the number of, let's say in 1 month, unduplicated people that came to the center. And then duplicated is the number of how many times those unduplicated people were involved. I usually call them interactions. So just to kind of, if there was any, I know periodically people get a little confused about duplicated, unduplicated. I do look at both because the unduplicated allows us to know how many people we are reaching, which is always good to know. But the duplicated is, I always really like the duplicated because that really tells you how full our center is. We can't tell somebody not to come. So the duplicated is really how many backsides we have in a seat, to say. So that's really good. Compared to going into this fiscal year, my goal was to do, I'm trying really hard to average about 3,000 interactions a month, so that would be duplicated. And right now we are pretty much on par. I calculated, and I didn't throw this into the report, but last fiscal year, even though we were just kind of coming back from the pandemic, we had only done 2,590 duplicated interactions. And this year we are at 5,952, so more than double what we had last July and August. So So we are really keeping on track, and I'm hoping, and I think we will be able to hold that average of about 3,000 interactions a month, which is really good. We have a really busy September coming up. You can take a look at the list. We did have the lunch, Labor Day luncheon. Thank you to Christopher's got food from Christopher's. We had the Red Sox history presentation. That was really good. We have another lunch and learn. We had another lunch and learn, bank safety. Tomorrow we have a mini trip. And then our biggest event coming up on September 20th is the Hillview Lunch and New Bingo event on the 20th. So 2 weeks from this Wednesday. So that's going to be a really big event. So we're excited about that.
Can I ask you, what is New Bingo?
I was worried someone was going to ask that question.
I take it back.
It has to do with bingo and music, and I don't fully understand, but I've heard other places absolutely love it.
Okay, that's good.
I have not had time to actually YouTube it. But I've heard it's really popular. Should be a really good event. Right now, I think we have, it's for Reading residents only, and right now we have 108 or 9 signed up. So, which is really exciting. So that is pretty much, as you can see, August and September. We're just staying really busy thanks to the staff. The staff's working really hard, so kudos to them and thanks to them for all their work. Some center updates I wanted to share really quickly. Facilities did do an air quality test from a company, and everything came back good. They will be out to perform a second test when they turn back on the heating system. Not quite sure when that's going to be yet, but once we get word that the heating system will get turned back on, like it does every year, they'll get the company back out and do another quality air control test. So it's not, it's through a company that has all the fancy testing equipment. So, but the first test did come back good, nothing that we were concerned that showed any concerns or anything. So, but we will do the second one just so everyone knows. We are gonna, we have an order in for a new kitchen stove. I know that was a concern at one point people were chatting about. So we have a new stove. Hopefully, I haven't got word on when it'll be in, but it'll be electronic ignition. So it won't be a pilot light, it'll be electronic ignition. So a little bit nicer. Something that has come up lately quite a bit is AEDs in the building. I wanted to let everyone know, right now what we have is two AEDs. We have one behind the front desk, which AED.
That's it.
Defibrillator. Defibrillator. It is AED, right?
Yeah.
It's late now, I am questioning myself. We have one centrally located right behind the front desk, and then we have one for the vans. So we do have 2 AEDs. The staff, we just finished getting the staff trained just a month or 2 ago. We just went through, I know I was in that class, Carrie, one of the part-time van drivers, got the first aid AED CPR certified. So the staff is certified in it, which is good. The other question was whether we should get another one. What we had found, we did a little bit of research. Seems like the rule, what they're kind of saying, there's no like set standard on how many you should have or should not have, other than you should probably have one. But what's pretty common out there is what they say is you should be able to have one to wherever you need it within 3 to 5. I've been seeing 3 minutes, and I like the 3-minute rule. Some people do say 5. I'm like, it should probably be 3. So I did, just so everyone knows, I took some time out of my day with a stopwatch. And I did 2 tests at my normal walking speed. And I timed myself getting up from my desk, walking down the steps to the AED, spent 2 seconds just waiting there. And then I walked back up to my desk and sat back down. And that was like a whole whopping 1 minute and, I don't know, 30 seconds. And then I proceeded to, I think it was shorter than 1 minute. It was under a minute. Then I went to the furthest part in the parking lot. So I went all the way outside to the farthest corner I could find on our property. And I ran a test. I walked it and then I ran it. And both of those were way under. The minute was, the running was about a minute or just under a minute, and the walking was 1 minute and 40 seconds. So if you look at the standard of being able to get an AED somewhere on site, we are well within that 3-minute rule. So that's the information we have on AEDs. So what we do have now is good. There's no issue with it. Now, if we purchase another one, I mean, we have another one. But that's kind of where we're at with that.
The cost of one.
Usually I looked them up, it can be usually around 2,000, 3,000 on up. So they're not cheap. They're, it's a pretty chunk of change. They do get tested periodically. I know they come out and they write a little thing, look at it, and then they write a little thing on the side of the box. So, but we are well within our limits and needs for AEDs. I just wanted to share where I was with that.
Could I ask a question while
Yes.
we're on the subject? Like there's one in the van, is that solidly mounted in the van or can easily be moved to the second van if the second van is the one being used?
It is in the cabinet up above the driver, so it can easily be moved to the other van. So we can easily move it.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I have a quick question on that. It's Jean.
Oh, hey, Jane.
If we do purchase, are the ones we presently have? I know there's a new model out that it actually, when in use, will tell you if it's necessary to use it, and it goes
Ours-
about and type of
Our-
thing.
Ours does that. So, like most AEDs, once you turn it on, it'll guide you through what you should be doing. Attach the pads, pretty much talks you through it. So ours do that.
Well, Chris, do you feel comfortable? Do you think one should be purchased so then you have one on maybe 2 floors if the other one is in the van, so that gives us a total of 3? And is signage bright enough or located that people know where they are?
So here's the thing is, for mine, what I focus on is to make sure that our staff, my focus is on the staff and not necessarily the seniors if they need help. Let me say that. My job is to make sure the staff knows where it's at and how to use it. And under that guidance, my staff does know where it's at and how to use it. I did ask Elise what she thought as the nurse advocate, and she thought it was, adequate for what we needed. There's nothing that, as we discussed it, nothing that, red flagged, hey, we need a third one. Because, if you think about it, if there's an emergency, someone's going to go get the AED while someone is assessing the patient. And you have to spend a few minutes, I don't want to say minutes, but moments to assess the patient before you really, you get the AED on there. So, if we had a bigger building, let's say if we get a larger center, then I would definitely advocate for making sure we have one on each floor. If we have a center that's twice as big or 3 times bigger. So I think it's adequate, but the way we're gonna leave it is, if people think we should have a third one, we could probably pull it out of one of the trust funds. Like I said, it's not cheap, it's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
About the one for the van.
Yeah, so, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't, there's nothing wrong with ours. We, well under 2 minutes at a walking pace, we can get it wherever we need. So I'll leave it at that.
Another thought I have is if we are proposing to try to have more evening functions, or if someone is renting the senior center, Are they aware of where these devices are? And then my other thought is, maybe going forward, have we ever done a refresher course for a CPR course for seniors? Where a lot of them are caregivers? I'm just wondering that.
We did, that's a good question. We can add into rentals, we can let people know where the AED is. That's not an issue at all. I mean, it's pretty, they usually only just use the great room for like evening activities and stuff, so it's pretty easy to be able to see the AED. It's just behind the desk and anyone can access, get to it. We did do a CPR thing sometime in the past year, about a year ago, I remember. I need to get more details on that, Gene, and what that involved and what we possibly could do.
We used to do them about every 3 years.
Rosemarie, you have your hand up.
You mentioned an air quality test was done. Did
Mhm.
that come back fine for the air downstairs with the
They-
computer?
They tested all the floors in multiple areas. I thought I had the test with me, but I remember reading through it. They tested the basement, multiple rooms in the basement, multiple rooms on the first floor, and multiple rooms on the second floor. I can't remember if they went to the attic or not. I can't recall when I read through it right now. But yes, it was through all the rooms.
So
And it came back.
downstairs
well.
is damp and has a musty, moldy smell. That came back, air quality was okay?
Yeah, I mean, most basements, if we go home, most of us will go to our basements and, it's a basement, but it did come back okay. No issues, nothing that alerted on anything being unsafe. So.
Good. What about the vans?
All right, I'll finish up the list here. I want to make sure we watch our time. Vans are good, just so everyone knows. I know it was a question that popped up. They get regular maintenance. I do have to say I give kudos to Joe. I never have to worry about the vans because I know Joe is on top of it. DPW does regular maintenance. If there's anything wrong, we get them in. Recently, they just got backup cameras. The only thing, I talked to Joe about it, and I've noticed this at other places too who have the same type of van. The only thing that vans are in proper working order, good and safe. If you are on highways, which we are a little bit more now at highway speeds, the two flappy doors, the wind can like move them a little bit. Nothing wrong with that, very common. It's just the way the doors, they open and close, and sometimes if you have a gust of wind, you can move them a little bit, but there's no issues with that and everything's safe. So vans are good. I just put in here van transportation and ATS. I kind of mentioned that at the very beginning of tonight's meeting, so I won't touch on that. I want to let everyone know flower beds. We do plan on hiring somebody once a year to come in and make sure they're up to par towards spring, beginning of summer. I think that's easy. But then what's really nice is we do have a lot of volunteers that come out and take care of them. I see them regularly. Crystal Garden Club is one of them, and they do a good portion of it. So I do want to say thank you to the volunteers. We have to hit the front beds a little bit again, weed a little bit, and we'll get to that. But thank you to volunteers, for coming out. They give their times to work on our beds, so which is pretty amazing. So I'm not gonna knock that at all. That's fantastic that they come and do that. Tax volunteers, I want to let everyone know, we have been working, I should say Anna's been working really hard on trying to get tax volunteers for this coming tax season. The AARP has hosted a couple regular recruitments places, did a couple of recruitment drives. We put it in the local paper. We're going to do that again. We are trying to get the word out. It's in the pleasantries. We think we're going to be able to pull it off. There's no guarantee though, because this is a volunteer thing, and it really does take a lot of time. This is not a simple. They don't get paid for it, and pretty much, NEC that goes to Florida, they're not going to do it. So we are trying hard to get tax volunteers for this coming tax season, and we'll keep you up to date as we continue to get closer on that. So, but thank you to Anna for all of her work on that. She has really worked hard with that. We're hoping to get the volunteer coordinator position posted soon. I don't know why it's getting held up, but hopefully that'll be posted soon. We have the funds, and hopefully it'll get up there. We are working with facilities to bring out contacting a sound company to come out just to assess the first floor sound, to see if there's anything that we could possibly do with maybe helping with the sound in that area. So we'll keep you updated with that. Hopefully the company will be out in the next couple weeks. And maybe we'll get some opinions, maybe simple things that we can do to help with any echoes and sound in that area.
Is the sound issue only on the first floor?
Mostly on the first floor. That's the biggest concern that we'd like to tackle first.
Okay, because I remember the Council on Aging used to meet on the second floor and John could never hear me.
But I've got these now,
I
and I've got
know.
that microphone sitting there.
I know.
Sounds like another reason.
So I can hear
Everything.
Okay, great, all right.
And then, oh, I have one more, and then Gene, I'll take the question. And then we are starting to get local papers in. I have a setup right now where we're getting the Boston Globe, New York Times, Wall Street Journal quite regularly. Seniors really like it. And we're working on trying to get a regular subscription to the Chronicle. I thought I had another avenue, but Rosemary did some work, and the price is the same. Unfortunately, it's just to have one paper delivered. I think it's like $190 a year, which isn't that much, but it'd be, for one paper to be delivered once a day. It's not bad. I was hoping to try to get more than one at a decent price, because I'm a little worried that once one shows up, it's going to disappear. So, but anyhow, we have newspapers coming regularly. Jean, do you have a question?
I do, Chris. You had mentioned the air quality, which is great, and they're coming back when it's the heating season.
Yeah.
But has that heating system been reviewed or cleaned prior to the heating season?
It has. I just don't have the date on that. I think they do it when we're not there at the center. I need to double check on when the last time that happened was. I kind of fell through the cracks as we were gathering everything together, because we were just excited to be able to get the air quality test in, and a few other things. So I will get that information for you, Gene. Good question. All right, I think I've gone over time.
Just a couple minutes, but this is really good. Let me give you some, the group some background information on all these things. These were items that were kind of collected throughout the month from some council members, from some people that attended. And I think this is a nice way to give these concerns to Chris and let him then report back on what the results are. So I think this is a good thing. You did a good job.
I say this to the seniors all the time, usually large groups, and I've said this to all my groups. I value feedback. I value positive feedback, and I value negative feedback, because without negative feedback, you can't grow. So I do ask, if you have any questions, and Jen and I have talked about this, please come to my, please come to my office. You can talk to Jenna. We're more than happy to talk, to be able to answer any questions. And I'm also happy to bring these questions or any questions and let you know an update on them. So please, always feel free to reach out, positive and negative, and try not to be too brutal, or at least spread it out so I don't go too crazy. But I do value that. So please come to us. So, if you see something, I'd prefer not to have it spread. Please come to us first so we can talk about it And then, this is great. I like being able to answer questions and be able to let you know and give you an update. So please, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. On the backside of Chris's report, or attached to Chris's report, are also the ARPA funding report and then our trust fund report. Jenna is not here tonight, so if people have, let's start with the trust fund report. Anybody want to make a comment or question?
I have a comment.
Yeah?
Doesn't look like we've tapped, oh, this is just for 2 months. This is just for July and August. We haven't tapped into any of the trust fund money yet, based on review of that, right? Because it showed year to date was 0% for every trust fund. So we haven't touched the trust funds this
It looks like,
fiscal year.
Well,
Oh,
we
did I miss
have.
something?
No,
Did I miss something?
it looks like Burbank, you can see, you expended, we have taken out of Burbank.
Oh, okay, 100%. Okay,
Yeah, there are some out of Burbank,
Oh, and
and
2%, I'm sorry.
yeah, but things are growing. We're trying,
Yeah, it's minimal.
I mentioned this to Marilyn, and it's the one thing I will never forget this, she agreed with me on. I'll take that to my grave. We are trying really hard to we're trying to spend ARPA
Yes, that's
And-
what I noticed.
and let these trust funds build, so when we don't have ARPA, we have more funds. So I want everyone to keep that in mind. And you also have to keep in mind, even though this is the up-to-date report that we have, Karen is correct, like, the numbers may be off a little bit, because it's always hard to, as things are moving and we're getting in invoices and things are going on, but we are spending from it.
Minimally at this point,
Yeah,
which is
which is good.
if we were using the other funds. Yeah.
And then I just want to quickly on the ARPA, this is a pretty good ARPA report. I was looking through it today. You can kind of get an idea of where some of the money is kind of going to, what we're spending it on. Jen and I do ask, I know, and Nancy and Marilyn, you guys met with Jenna today. We do ask, just so there's no confusion, again, please feel free to connect with myself or Jenna, and we're happy to sit down to explain how the money is being spent and where it's going and how it looks and how much we've spent. We're more than happy to do that anytime, rather than take up an entire meeting trying to be like, hey, what it is. So.
It was actually Rosemarie and myself that met with Jenna today.
Oh, great.
And Rosemarie and I are also going to meet with the finance department about this report and see if we can, there's a couple of things. See if we can separate the programming, the senior programming money from the feasibility money. So we're gonna try to do that. And the other thing that we talked about, how the total is 800,000, and we've been saying 900. Well, and these are round numbers, so don't hold me to the dime or the penny. But that money that we do not see, that other 100,000, went to pay for some salaries. So the administrator at the Pleasant Street Center was increased to full-time. The
Volunteer coordinator.
Linda, who answers the phone, is full-time. And there's also some rec salary in there, so and they work with, or have been working with Chris to do the intergenerational programs. So, and as Jenna likes to explain it, you have to think, the salaries are not, pizza at the senior center, but what they do is they're paying 4 people to organize these programs and activities in order for it to happen. So if you think of it that way, it really kind of fits into the programming part of that money. You know, we can nickel and dime this and we could argue this for the next 10 minutes, probably 30 minutes. But Rosemarie and I are going to try to see if we can get these 2 reports separated for us. So,
And I want to say thank you to ARPA because, you know, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that we're doing without it. So, you know, being able to have a full-time, you know, program / administrator, you know, someone full-time at the front desk, you know, we would not be able to sustain and continue these numbers and what we're doing without that.
and one of the things we talked about, no, I'm gonna save that, never mind. Never mind.
It's
Yeah,
just one question, as you two do your continued research, some of these I know are things like the volunteer coordinator was explicitly for ARPA. On the others, my only question would be are we using ARPA to fund anything that there was budget for?
no,
Okay,
according to Jenna, the answer is no.
okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you for checking that, and yeah, and I really like the idea of separating out those 2 items.
yes, yeah. So Rosemarie and I are on the hunt, so we're gonna figure out how to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I kind of went out of order. So I'm gonna go back up to requests for funding from Elder Services, and then I think there might be a few from within the Council on Aging. So Elder Services,
For this, for September, I'm asking up to $1,200 to cover some of our events, birthday lunch, movie and a pizza. And there's gonna be one other event that we're just finalizing for this month for some funding. So I'm asking up to $1,200, and that should cover us quite well. Our numbers are increasing, which is good, but that also means we have to pay more. So for 3 events for September, I'm asking for up to $1,200.
So moved. Well, I make a motion to fund the request that Chris is asking for.
From Burbank?
Uh,
From where? What
From Burbank.
Second?
any discussion? Let's take a vote. Joan Coco
yes,
and Rosemarie
Yes,
and Karen Fontino
Yes.
and Karen Janowski
Yes.
and John Parsons
Yes.
and Karen Panett
Yes.
and Jean Prado
Yes.
and Marilyn
Yes.
and Deborah Small is not here and Nancy T. Okay, great. Wonderful. Anything else, Chris? No, that's, okay.
The COA.
Yeah. Now, I know that there were going to be a couple requests from some COA members. I'm gonna let Marilyn talk just for a second,
One,
not a second.
I understand. There are 2 things. One is the furniture we talked about, and I've talked to Chris and Jenna, and we all agreed. I showed some things that I saw online and said, this is what I have in mind, and Chris gave some great feedback on it, making sure they're stable and all, and we decided it would be great to actually try them out, and you'll go sit in some of it and make sure, because it's hard to tell online, stuff could be made out of paper mache. So, but the problem, and I went to a couple of places, the problem is now it's the time of year where they're selling off the odd bits of furniture that didn't sell all summer. So I think we're gonna table that till probably March is the time to plan a field trip, and go sit in the furniture and make sure all parties are comfortable, quite literally.
I like that idea. Also, you know, I don't know if we have a place to store it, so that just saves a winter. So if we get it in the winter,
Right.
spring,
I think the goal is to pick a model that can stay outside all winter. A lot of places do that.
Yeah.
So, but we can worry about it in March.
Great.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
And also there's, I know an interest expressed in our including a bench that's near where the buses are, is that where it is? When we go on that shopping expedition to see what we might have for a bench that's more universal design than anything we've had in the past. It has arms on it basically and it's stable so someone can get some leverage to get in and out of it, and things like that. So all of the docket for March. My other one was I brought up last time that the state's Council on Aging annual event is coming, and I looked today and they still don't have any registration information except coming soon and save the date for October 11th and 13th. So I was hoping they would have registration information so we would know what it actually costs so that we could vote on something, but we sort of can't. But are we meeting again before the 11th? I don't think so. All right.
I don't.
We can sort it out, but is Elder Services going?
Usually the directors go to the annual meeting, so I will try to go. Last year I went for a day because I was down on the Cape, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I usually try to go at least for one day. I usually try to pick some things.
I think I'll just watch this and if when they come up with the information, have Jenna share it and we'll, depending on the timing, we can figure out what we can do.
It looks like our next meeting would be on the 9th.
All right,
Oh,
that's before October 11th, so
Yeah,
it's,
and where is
it?
it's at the DoubleTree by Hilton and Danvers.
Oh, all right.
Usually alternate locations.
Yeah, so how about if any COA member is interested in attending, can they send their name to you? And you can kind of keep track of, and
Sure.
then figure out the cost and
Sure.
people just have to save the date.
Yeah, say that there are programs on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, and from what I saw in past years, you can enroll for, a piece, you can enroll for the whole thing, depending on your interest. And obviously, we would pick the least expensive options so they get good use, but when we have more information, I'll send a link or I'll ask Jenna to circulate the link to simplify that process. But sure, you can let me know if you're interested once we get the link. And then by the 9th, we should have a sense of what it might cost and who would like to go and vote on it then. So that's all I have.
That would be good because going to those things kind of makes you excited and it motivates people. So,
They're best practices.
yeah, so people that are interested should.
Do we want to,
Mention
report on it? We spent, we authorized?
I have,
Is it later?
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, one other thing, so that's the furniture. Do we want to make, are there any, for newspaper subscriptions, do we need to fund those out of the trust funds?
What's that?
The newspapers?
I mean, if you wanna, I think it's $190 for 52 weeks for the Chronicle.
Mhm.
What about the others? Are they covered?
Yeah, the other ones are covered for now.
Before we spend any money on the Chronicle, I think we should investigate getting complimentary ones from the Chronicle. If you're in the Winchester lounge area, there are 2 Chronicles there, and there's, you know how there's labels on papers when they get sent out, and it says complimentary. Now, I don't know if it's complimentary because somebody donated it and it wanted complimentary, or whether the Chronicle is donating it. But I think we should contact our rep, one of the Haggertys, and ask him what he can do.
I mean, I was trying to do that and I kept quoting me a price, but I'm willing to, it'd be nice if we could get it for free.
Yes.
It'd be nice to have a couple complimentary.
John is really good at getting things like that out of people. I recommend that John make phone calls.
I second that.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Well done, John.
Yeah, I'll contact Rich Haggerty.
If you need any help, let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good. So that brings us to talking some updates. one was the street fair update, and go ahead, Marilyn, you can show your,
Oh, alright, well, this was
email.
fund, an expenditure we agreed to last month. We got, I believe for, I think it was $500 we authorized, and we got, I believe, 600 of these things. You can pass it around the table, so you can ooh and ah.
And if anybody wants one, they're still in the trunk of my car, so on the way out, I'll be at my trunk.
They were really hot sellers at the street fair. What we did was we put together several pieces of info that we have, and first we some had a folder pamphlet, and first we stuck it in there, but then we just cut these, then Nancy figured out cutting it at the top, and we put flyers inside with it. People wanted them, they loved it, they're like, oh, I always use those. So they were very attractive, and
How
we
was
got-
the attendance yesterday with the rain?
We
we
were,
were pretty busy.
yeah, we were up in front of the town hall, and most of the action takes place over on Haven Street.
Yeah.
Or like right downtown by CBS. So, we kind of get the walk-by traffic, but Rosemarie was fabulous. She was out there on the sidewalk, passing these things out, pulling people in, and John and Marilyn and myself, so.
And they actually let us talk to them. But in the past, they don't. In the past, we've had a lot of just, no, thank you. But I honestly think the difference was the jar opener. Because they were getting, it's like, this is the last thing, just the big prize. But you can look at these things, and this is why we're showing you, like, oh, thank you. So it was helpful.
Was. And thank you to Jean Prado for pulling
Yes.
that all together.
Yeah, they're beautiful, Jean.
Really worked out well. Reading Friends of 60 plus. And we actually, Charlotte is one of the representatives. She probably didn't even know it was on the agenda. I was just gonna give an update. But the group is fabulous. It met last week. And the paperwork for the 501c3, 3C, I always get them mixed up, is like this close to completion. And once that's completed, can begin fundraising. And Charlotte's the treasurer, Joanne Woodward is the president, and Anne Marie Bork, am I pronouncing her name correctly? Is the kind of like the VP, so she and Joan work together very closely. And Mary Ann Kiernan is the secretary. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Nora. Oh my God, I looked right at her. Nora is the recording secretary, and she is managing the address, the online emails that we might get, and doing all that stuff. So, and I think the group last time we talked also about getting Chris to come in and give us kind of the big picture. What is it that's needed out there by this group? So
I know Joanne mentioned that last week, so
good.
I'm excited for that. I also wanted to just quickly say, I've been very impressed by how well the group has come together and how quickly. I mean, this is something that just started forming this past spring when Nancy mentioned it on this Wednesday. And other than one little hiccup this summer, I mean, you all have done a lot in a short period of time to be able to form a group, form the, get everything you needed done. So I have been very impressed, and I want everyone to know that. I'm really excited for that.
We should probably give a shout out too for Josh Latham for,
Well,
Oh,
that's
right,
exactly
right,
what I
yes.
was just thinking.
because
Go ahead.
so pro bono, he's doing the legal work, and a shout out to Tom Bates because he's a CPA. He's
Yeah.
doing that type of work for us. So that's very nice of them.
Yeah. So it's a great group. We probably won't pull it off this year, but Anne Marie and I, we want the Friends to do a dance party in front of the PSC, you know, and food trucks and the whole kit and caboodle. But I think that's next year. Yeah.
But we even more excited, we'll have it in hand
Right.
and let's go forward with our fundraising.
Right. Right, so it's really exciting, really exciting. What else do I have on here? Oh, the noxious fumes letter update. I unfortunately did not bring it with me. Everybody did get a copy that I sent to the select board. I am going to, where's Mark? He's gone.
He had to go, he messaged, he had another commitment.
I am going to, unless someone else wants to volunteer, I am gonna go to the meeting tomorrow night and remind them that we sent this letter and we gave them a 30-day timeline to get a remediation plan in place to take care of this noxious fume so that we don't spend the whole winter. And I know, you know, God love him, Chris has done all these workarounds and he turns off the heat, turns back on the heat, he covers the vents, he's like air quality extraordinaire. But so hopefully we don't go the whole winter with those fumes. So, you know.
Are you going to public comment?
Yes, yeah. So if anybody wants to join during that public comment and, you know, show support for getting rid of these noxious fumes, that would be great. Yeah.
Just a shout out to, there often are one or two of us at select board and recap meetings. As often as possible, I think it would be great whenever there's something germane to anything on the senior center. If people could go, it makes a difference. They see faces, they know we're there, they know we're listening. Even if you can't stay the whole time, if you can be there for a while, particularly the select board, they go through the night. People make fun of us, this meeting running 10 minutes over. Be grateful, we're not the select board. But they work very, very late and often senior center things are late. But the public comment is often related to senior center issues and just seeing the faces. I saw an article, I think it was in Arlington, had to do with parking fees for seniors, and they had 100 seniors go to the select board meeting, and it made headlines everywhere. You know, we're not going in with pickets necessarily, but it sends a message, you know, it's important enough to make the effort, especially so you can do it on Zoom, to be present when you can. So I ask everyone just to keep an eye out and do your best, and I know we're all busy, but even 5 minutes to log in up, so it's okay.
What time is that meeting tomorrow?
7. So public comment is at 7.
Just to give you an update, I know this happened is facilities did have an engineering company out to evaluate, in the past month, recently, to examine, they're examining what options to replace or replace the system and how they can do it. So they did, I wanted to let you know that the engineering firm was out. It was on a Friday. They gave me a heads up. I saw them there. They're trying to figure out the best option on how to, you know, and what to do. So I want to, just so you know that facilities has been working on that. So that it's not going unanswered without action. It's just trying, they have been out with the engineering firm and facilities, and they're examining right now what can possibly be done. I just haven't heard if they have, what that possibility is yet, because I think there's more than one. But you know, it's also a historical building, so you just can't be knocking holes in walls. And you know, you also have to consider, you know, if you replace a unit upstairs, how do you get that unit out? You know, so I do ask that, I want to let you know that things are happening with that. It's a very complicated issue, with, I think, some different solutions that can happen. And it just doesn't help that it's a historical building.
Yeah.
Because you really have to go through a lot when it's a historical building. So.
And we appreciate that update because, and that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to harass anybody. We just want to know, that's great that there was an engineering firm out there
I should have-
looking at the system.
I should have thrown that in my report and I just remembered because I know, shortly after,
Over here.
I know, shortly after you had written that letter, emailed it out, facilities did have, it was within a week, they had the air quality control out and then they had the engineering firm out to try to figure out the solution to, and you also have to keep in mind, some of these solutions are not cheap. Some can probably be up to a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
So then we have to find, where do you pull $300,000 from?
Right.
You know, if that's the case. I'm not saying it is, but depending on how that works. So got to keep that in mind, that it's, once we find out the best option, then we also have to find out, okay, where do we get the funds for that option? And then personally, I think also, the other thing that we have to keep in mind, which is gonna tie into later on tonight, is if we start throwing a couple $100,000 at our current senior centers, and then we want a new senior center, well, how's that, what are people gonna think? Are they gonna come back and be like, hey, you want a couple $100,000 to upgrade the heating system, why do you want a new center? So you gotta be very careful on how this plays out. I'm just throwing that out there.
And then,
My guess is, I know in my own mind, it's gonna be a question, is it convenience for people because they'd be more comfortable versus is it a safety thing? That air quality test, once the heating is on, I think will be
Yeah.
very telling.
Yeah.
And if anyone's life even is a little bit impaired as a result of breathing those fumes, to me, it's no brainer.
Of course,
So
definitely.
if it's just a stinky smell that's unpleasant, well,
Yeah.
open a window and put a sweater on.
And I think,
No, okay.
But I do-
I've never smelled it because I
that's
don't,
awful.
I don't
but
get
I
it.
think the air quality, the
Yeah.
hard part is the next step will be when they turn the heating back on, the
Yes.
air quality control.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing it, we're performing, but they are examining, and I know for a fact that they've been out, because I've been pestering them.
Thank you.
Good.
So,
Very responsive to our last.
Jean has a question.
And since you brought this up again, Chris, this is something that I really stress. I want to know if the burner has been clean, if National Grid has come out to test it. We're getting into the heating season.
yeah,
And
Yep.
I think this is the time now, and I appreciate the engineers looking at maybe we need a new system, et cetera, and it's gonna cost this. But let's get a company out that has different equipment to test this device. They turn it on, even if it's summer, when they have to clean it.
Yeah.
So I don't know
I
who
do-
needs to do that.
yeah. I don't know about that. I know the ball is rolling,
Yeah.
which is good, and I trust the facilities. I do trust facilities, so, and believe me, my first is safety, that I always keep in mind. But also, more than anyone, I want to resolve this because, I'm trying to gear myself up for 6 more months of, if this isn't resolved, I have to hear about it, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are, but things are in motion, and I agree, I'm gonna work on the cleaning part. I can do that soon, and we'll get to the other things, but I agree with you, Jean, thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris, for all that you do.
anything else? We've actually kind of went down the whole agenda. And the next thing on the agenda is a communication and outreach strategy for a new senior center. One of the things, you know,
Sorry.
Yeah.
We just finished with ongoing business and we just switched. Do we have to
Right.
approve anything or anything? No, we can just keep
No.
going?
I think we just new business because we discussed the air quality, the sound barrier, and the landscaping in the ongoing business,
Okay, great.
right?
Thank you.
Which then just leaves us to the very last item, which I hope we have a good conversation about this because it's very, very important. Let me tell you what I did at the field day, the street fair. And what I did was I there was a one pager, that had identified the URL and also a QR code to our video. Which, by the way, is going to be posted. But anyways, let me finish. So what I did as I talked to people, I said, you know, do you live in Reading? Do you vote? We need your vote because we've outgrown our senior center and it needs to be replaced or renovated, and it's gonna come back to the voters. So I was constantly sending that message out because the 40-somethings or 30-somethings walking by could care less about the senior center. But, you know, thank God for Rosemarie, because she's right out there. She's like, want a jar opener. You need to know that we need a new senior center. And these are the people that we're gonna have to reach out to, and we need their vote. So what I'd like to do for at least the next 20 minutes is come up with ideas, just brainstorm. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at each one of those ideas. And I'm thinking that we may call another special meeting the third weekend or the third week in September perhaps, to talk about each idea, look at a calendar, figure out when it's appropriate to do these things and who's gonna do them. So as we go through this, it's gonna be really important that the Council on Aging members volunteer time in order to get these things done. And if a Council on Aging can't volunteer time because of, you know, work, whatever, then need to find a volunteer who will step in and take on some of these responsibilities. It's just gonna be really important. It can't just be two people doing these things. So what happened?
I'm trying whiteboard.
Oh,
Ah.
all right, Chris.
Nobody talk about my spelling.
Okay.
Okay, this is like, just spell phonetically.
Oh, she mentioned whiteboard before.
Well, what's nice about Google Doc is then you don't have to copy and paste it.
Oh, I don't have access to it.
Do you Word?
I got Word. I could do Word.
Word,
All right, I'll do Word.
Office 365,
All right, stand by. I'm gonna share.
because then you don't have to copy and paste it. And the formatting is much easier.
I was proud of myself for learning whiteboard.
Could you copy and paste it off the whiteboard?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen and then you guys can.
Like, is it gonna be as formatted as nicely to begin with in the whiteboard app?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna be formatted in, well, anyways.
It could be bulleted, it could be,
Yeah.
things like that, yeah.
Can I write and share my screen at the same time?
Yes. If you open a Word
Yes,
document,
yes. Do
Yeah.
share screen,
right,
just like what you were doing.
right, put the Word
Yeah, and then
document
just
open
the
on your
top.
screen.
Yeah.
Jane has her hand up.
Wait, first I want to get this up here so we can start.
So, there it is.
All right, Jean.
Okay, a couple of suggestions. We spent, and I think the video that we did this past spring is awesome. I know people can go on to RCTV and look for it, but is there any way that we can request RCTV schedule us on a certain time frame that viewers can look at it? And maybe then have a news release in the newspaper stating when it's gonna be on, type of thing?
Yep, that's a
So
good
we're
suggestion.
brainstorming.
We're
There's no-
brainstorming, so we're not
Yeah.
answering any of
Yeah.
these questions.
Well, that's
So-
up to it. All right,
So what we're putting out is RCTV video, schedule it, so people can,
So we could also do an RCTV program where they could interview us, or the high school kids could interview us.
I think that's awesome. I
That's
thought
good.
of that, Karen. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, can you make the?
What my other thought is, what
I'm so
about,
sorry, I don't have my glasses.
oh, I'm sorry. What about doing a session at the library?
Why not?
a session, what session?
Well, do an informational session with the video at the library.
Okay,
Invite
wanna do it?
people,
Do we want to do it at the library or at the Pleasant Street Center?
We could do both.
well,
We're just throwing
yeah,
it,
could do both.
no judgment, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
no judgment.
Was that PSA Library?
Video information.
How would you get people there?
No, we are not talking about the details, Rosemary. We're just throwing out ideas.
Okay, my idea would be
Informational events.
to address the town meeting members.
To do what?
To do what?
Oh, address town.
Address town meeting members.
Actually put that on there. Because we might have an ability to do that.
We could show the video again.
Also, maybe
Yeah.
a pass out for Reading football or basketball, any of the games that the kids play and the parents go. We have a pass out for the people.
Pass out what?
Information sheet.
Okay,
Just an FYI, today I sent at long last to Jane Wellman our press release, now that we have our Council on Aging email set up. So I sent her the press release. Hopefully she'll get it out to the distribution list this week with the link as well. And it's announcing that we're starting. You all saw it a couple of months ago. We approved it. We were just waiting to get the link and we've got it now, so hopefully this week she'll get that out to the newspapers.
I would like to see people, we schedule people to write something to the Chronicle, the Post, the Patch every week about the need for a new senior center. And it could be creative, we need creative writers for this, but so that people are seeing it every week.
Also in Pleasantries monthly, a new senior center update. Is there any space to have a bulletin board in the senior center that also we could put documents up there?
Ooh, just put that idea up there and Chris can think about it.
All right. Yeah,
Bulletin board,
bulletin board.
kind of like they have one at the library.
Yeah.
Can we do one at the PSC?
Yeah, I think we could probably do one on the entranceway.
Okay, we can
They
figure
have one at Calaruso's, and
Yeah.
when you get to the grocery stores, can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, reach out, put information at grocery stores. Where else?
That's what I can think of right now, where
Yeah.
where there's traffic.
Yeah,
We had talked about doing an event for the town meeting members back when we first had the video, inviting them to a cocktail hour or something. And showing
We
it,
did.
we did,
Right before town meeting. we
right, and we
were
just ran
gonna
out
do
of time, we just
Yeah.
couldn't do it all. But I think that was a good idea, people respond well.
that. Let's put that up
What
there,
is it?
An event,
like a reception.
right, a reception, an info session for town meeting members on the need for a senior center.
And we also mentioned at that time, possibly checking with Reading Cooperative, was it?
Yeah,
Yes. Can you put events info session for town meeting members?
how about event or info session for the public? We've got one here.
Are there any other events in town that maybe aren't big townwide things, but something that's more, I'm just thinking we have to reach out to younger people, like you said, so people who have like school-aged children. So I like the idea of sporting events, but is there any other like town gathering? I don't know.
Well, I always think of the Festival of Trees, and that gets young people.
What is that?
The Festival of Trees in December.
With the school.
Festival.
Yeah, I
Or
just-
school.
And it gets a lot of families involved. I don't know what that would look like, but could we do something?
Yeah.
Some sort of,
Festival of
Festival of
Trees
Trees.
info table.
We can reach out to churches too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Or we could, and this will sound, well, we could pretend we're doing a voting campaign and stand on a corner some Saturday morning. Town needs new senior center.
well, put it down. We are not, we're not, we're
And
not
never
on
volunteer for
corner.
that.
stand on.
We need to publish some of the pictures that Chris has taken of the crowded rooms when people come for activities there.
I sent that, just so y'all know, to the town last week. I sent a report and I sent a photo of our best exercise on Friday, which was 30 people. I got a pretty good picture of Rosemary standing in the kitchen doorway.
The whole room was filled with chairs. The only place I could extend my feet was in the kitchen doorway.
Pretty good. It was a good photo.
Well, I think we should use the photos that you've taken so that people see how full the rooms are.
Those might, I suggest that we use social media and use all these town Facebook pages. Not everybody's on them, but a lot of people are, you
Well,
know.
then let's post the pictures on that.
Yeah, we
Uh,
could.
September 15th, all these people attended this group.
Social media. You know what I want? I want yard signs. You know how it's like vote for, you know, Joe Smith? I want, and I don't know what it's gonna say. But yard signs.
Last time you said bumper
It
stickers.
could say
Oh,
support us.
yeah, and bumper stickers. We need bumper stickers
People
too.
use those bumper stickers.
I don't like them on my
Yeah, a
car.
lot of
We
people
could do a
don't.
magnet,
Magnets.
although my car I think is made out of plastic, so I don't think anything sticks to them anymore.
But you could put it in your back window with tape,
Yeah,
you know, like, so if we could convince enough seniors
Yeah.
to, we could have a drive-by, you know, like,
We could have we could have a parade.
yeah,
Parade,
right? Let's put that down,
Sure.
senior parade.
Senior parade.
Decorate
Car
your car.
parade.
That'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be really cute. It'd get a lot of attention.
Yeah,
when we organize these, I can see some of these for now and some of them for once we get the feasibility study back.
Yeah.
Like, I think the art sign will be a great one for once we figure out where it's going to be.
yeah.
CPAC, I'm part of CPAC in Reading, and usually every summer they have a handful of, what do they call it?
Social.
Social events. Like, we host one at our house. There's usually like 3, and, you know, people volunteer to host something, and we sit and chat. It's great, it's actually a pretty great time. There's usually, you know, 10, 15 people that show up. I mean, people may not want to have people over at their house, but I also encourage, like, if you want to have an event in invite some friends that you know over in Reading to help talk about it and spread the word,
Yeah,
something like that.
that's, how would you?
We used to call them
House
coffee hours.
parties.
Coffee hours,
Coffee hours.
house.
House.
I think we should try to get Reading Neighbors Network on board.
Sure.
Yeah. How about something, once the designer is chosen, I'd love to see sort of a fireside chat, not literally, but like a fireside chat monthly from the designer as to, here's what's going on, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, there is that 60+ organization town. What is that called?
Reading Neighbors Network?
Is that the Reading Neighbors
Yeah,
Network?
yeah.
Is, okay.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
Well, we haven't, there's no
I think
age
it's what
limit.
Nancy, we were talking about before, Friends of Reading 60+.
That's the fundraising group.
Right.
No,
But I
but
don't
this
think you're
one,
thinking, yeah.
it's one for like older people in town. It's like a social group.
It's
Yeah.
our
Yeah,
Reading
Okay.
Neighbor Network.
Yeah, that's our,
Oh, we definitely want them to be involved, right?
Yeah.
Reach out to RNN, yeah.
Now, can you do anything at a beer garden? There's a lot of those
Yeah, that's why, I think that's a
coming up in
great thing.
October,
Yeah.
right?
You want people to talk, give them a couple beers.
And those
You know?
are family events, believe it or
How about, a-
And, yep.
do we have any form of a dog park yet, or that's just all
No.
thinking down? Okay.
What about
I was gonna say,
buttons?
next to the free little plastic bags, a thing with informational flyers, but
Oh, yeah. Buttons, I mean,
Buttons
just
are
trying to
good.
think, what would you, if you're at a beer thing, you don't what are you gonna do with a flyer? So you'd have to think, what is it, anyways, but it might be a button.
yeah, the grocery.
Nancy, you
bag-
could hand out the rest of your grab it things and then that people could hold their beer cups with it.
Oh, cozies, we could get,
No, even your
Oh,
twisty
yeah.
thing.
yeah, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Grocery bag, you know, environmentally friendly grocery bag holders. I've got 2 green senior center ones from a million years ago that Jane gave us. We could have a bunch printed up, and they all say senior center, Pleasant Street Center on it.
What?
Mayor,
Man, I wanna make sure your idea is on there.
Your idea is not that.
I could get it painted.
Nancy's car is a billboard. I like that.
House.
I like that. Oh, you know what? We should have a jingle.
I still see the code, there's like a Volkswagen blue car that
Yes.
still drives around.
Corona.
It's a bug.
Coronavirus.
It's a Volkswagen bug, yeah. Grocery bag holders, you know, the environmentally friendly ones,
Oh.
so you don't need to use their paper bags or plastic bags. But with the big thing of, we need a senior center or
Isn't
something
there-
like that on it.
I think there's a group that will select a nonprofit and they actually do the grocery bags for them.
Oh.
But okay, I digress.
I just wanna make sure Marilyn's idea got up there with the,
Environmentally friendly bags.
no, the one with the feasibility study, the consultant.
Oh, the fireside
yeah.
chats from the designer. Monthly, not literally fireside chat, but monthly updates, so, you know, maybe
Put
coffee
with
hour
the,
that
with
designer.
the
he or she
designer,
attends, yes.
please.
Chats by the smelly furnace. Hand out gas masks and saying, we need a senior center.
Other thing
I
that,
think everybody's getting slap happy.
I think we need I'm sorry, a jingle.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if we should have a jingle and a whole song, but we should have like a slogan.
We definitely.
Like there
need a
should be
slogan.
like, we can say like 5 words that
Mhm.
will be pack a punch.
Yeah.
So a slogan.
Save our seniors.
Exactly.
But we don't wanna use
But
the
no.
word senior.
Save our 60-plussers.
We should have something, like we can
Yeah.
have something.
Karen Talk Show.
Karen Talk Show.
But a standard slogan that we
Yes.
would use on,
On the
Yeah.
signs, on the bags, on the
Yeah.
pins.
yeah.
If we have
Gotta
like.
think about it.
How about
Yeah.
new senior center needed?
Well, think that
That's too
everybody
literal.
needs to-
I could put an ad in the paper every week in the want ad. Help
We could have a contest to have someone else come up with a slogan.
We could, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, because they'll compete, the people will come up with stuff.
This is, I don't, oh, actually, I have two things. One, I got from our wonderful town clerk, the street lists for Reading, and it includes ages. So we can, I'm trying to find someone who is very good at Excel that can take these street lists, because they're all in Excel, and parse them out, so we just have, we start with the 60 pluses. And then what I'm trying to find is, because they did this during campaigns, is how to parse out those addresses into precincts. Because that's what you do in a campaign for someone who's running for a select board or whatever. They parse out the street list by precinct. And then I was thinking we'd get the Reading Walking Club, and they could put door hangers
Yeah.
on people's
Doorknobs.
doorknobs.
Are you gonna try to target the precincts that have the older population? Why are you trying to?
I just think, I don't know, I haven't totally thought it out, but I know that in a political campaign, that's what they do. And it maybe isn't just the seniors, maybe it's everybody. But what the candidates try to do is identify who is most likely to vote for that person. So they might use those that are Republicans, or those that are Democrats, or those, so just someone to help think this through. How can we use this list? It's a font of information.
How about a mailer?
Yeah,
So targeted mailers, and then they could be customized depending on the age demographic.
yeah.
I mean, it would look different for the 60 plus as opposed to under.
Transportation to attend important select board meetings and recalc meetings. Would you like to come? They're talking about this tonight.
Yeah.
Pack the meeting.
I don't know if it will run at
Suggestion.
7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's a little hard.
Yeah, and then return.
I have a suggestion,
But anyways, that's just, let's put that up there. Vans,
Nance, quick
Yeah.
thing. On number 11, maybe we should just change that, instead of standing on a corner, singing a song. Why don't we just say, campaign signage?
well, let's keep the individual, like, that one was really to have people stand out on the green with a sign.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
We do it for all kinds of stuff.
yeah,
They stand out on the common.
You call that?
Stand
free
out on the
speech.
common.
Stand out on
Yeah,
the,
stand on the common.
stand on the common
If
with,
we,
sign.
if we bought one of those flashing signs like there is in the, I know the police department has one that's downtown, but if we bought one, is there someplace in town that we could get permission to put ours and have updates or something?
I don't know, put that
Put
down.
it down. Flashing sign that we own.
How about the ones that are already out there, like the one
We
by the
have to
high
get
school?
permission, they're owned by the police department, I think, and they occasionally have put things there for us, but you're competing with the dog park and everything else.
They rotate, right? They rotate.
They do.
Yes,
They
yeah,
do.
but you're competing with them for it. When we had the groups, like at the library, the focus groups and things, they put those up there to tell people. But if we had our own.
Maybe we could have the high school robotics team.
Yeah.
They had one of those cannons that shoots out T-shirts. And they built it themselves, and they brought that there. It would be kind of fun to see, how they might, we can give them a donation. But anyways, I digress. What else?
So the other thing I was thinking about, besides transportation to meeting, I don't know if this is even possible, but to have a Zoom from the senior center to the select board. And then you could have like everybody come, have it be like an event, but I don't know like what the hours are over there and if this is possible, but to say, hey, you know, we'll have tea, coffee, and we're gonna zoom in to the beginning of
The select
the select board meeting.
That's a good idea, and it could be, it could be, you can rent, you know, we can rent that room. We'd probably get it for free. And we could do that. That room is not set up though to broadcast.
Well, we could,
We could,
yeah, we could figure it
We're not gonna get down into the weeds, we're gonna
Right,
throw it
right.
down, we're gonna move on.
okay,
How
Well done,
about
thank you.
inviting the select board, have all the select board members actually had detailed tours of the senior center?
no, as well as recalc.
That's right, I think we should have open house for the select board and open house for the recount, and we could all do one open
An
house.
open house for town meeting members,
Yeah.
open house.
Right, but
Is there,
targeted, it'd be more obvious to, if they didn't show up, and I think hard for them to not do.
Someone just said
yeah,
something.
is there a way to do like a robocall? You know how you get all of those calls with announcements and that?
Oh, yeah.
The
people
Pleasant Street
even have
open
mobile
house was
phones,
for select board and for recount,
I think
28.
my phone rings and shows up on the TV screen, but I don't really.
28 was for select board and for recount.
No, my
members.
TV tells me there's
Targeted.
no, 27.
No, that's a Zoom.
That's
I want people in the building to actually see. I think many of these people have never set foot in it. Or they might have gone into the big room once.
Okay, but that's two different things.
Yeah, that's two
So
different
They're
things.
two different things.
we need, yeah,
On 28, that open house on 28.
Yeah, PSC open house.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, what about it?
I want the select board there and I want recalc there.
Okay, you're getting the.
Hey, details.
All right, but they're our audience. We don't have anything that addresses those audiences.
Okay,
I want them.
John, any
addressed.
ideas?
No, I gave a couple, that's about it.
Could we add recalc and select board to 28, please? Thank you. I haven't been there. It blows my mind. There are people who've never seen it.
That's how meeting is it, or is everybody remembers it?
yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people at the table. Like,
Town
where
meeting's
is-
192 people.
Clueless.
in the
Yeah,
office.
where is that?
Where is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
All right, what do we think? Is this a
List.
good list? Okay, so I propose that there's a couple, that we form a work group. And it doesn't, it could be a larger, it could be a quorum, we just have to post it. A work group that would work on these ideas, that would put together a calendar, would put together, you know, how this might be done, like a strategy. So we need to build these into a comprehensive strategy. So,
Can I just ask, is there somebody in town hall that can help guide this kind of thing? Because we're kind of new to this. I mean, I don't know, this isn't what I do for work.
yeah,
And I wonder if there is somebody in town hall, there's a position that could kind of give us some.
Jane Wellman is already, and she's the person that's gonna put that press release out and get us, so she has offered to help. The only thing is that I think they have a finer line of having to stay neutral in what they can do if it's from someone from town hall. Whereas we want outright advocacy, we want a senior center. So it might be right. I've suggested a couple of times that we look into hiring a management consultant firm, if nothing more than to help us develop a strategy, if not a website, we took it down. We need a web page that's focused on this as well.
I'll add that.
Okay, thank you, but they could help us design that.
Because does anyone feel comfortable organizing something like this? Because we'll be,
Learning while we're doing it.
yeah, and it's always helpful to have somebody who's already done this, who's strategized this kind of.
And although it may be good to take a look at this list and clean it up a little bit, and
Yeah.
once you get it cleaned up, some of these things are pretty simple. That, you know, it's just like some folks to be able to do, like, you know, yard signs, you know, we have a couple people, or buttons, be like, okay, are some people willing to take that on, take the lead on that, and think about a few designs? And then, you know, try to figure out maybe where the money could come from. And then I think there's some other things in here that are a little bit harder, that it probably would be a good idea to reach out to someone with a little bit. So maybe good to kind of decipher that once we get this list cleaned up, be like, all right, these are some things that we could probably do fairly quickly and just within our group. And then the other ones we can.
I think Mark is a
Consult
good
on.
resource for us too, so if we wanted to do anything that wasn't some of that low hanging fruit, we can probably do on our own, but Mark can also help guide us through some of the other town things.
It's just, I don't know what I don't know, and no one does, and I'm an expert in certain things. This is something, and there are experts who do know how to organize campaigns and advocacy.
Right.
And so, I just don't, yeah.
Also, I think something that we also didn't put on there was, you know, just positive talk when we go around, and we're just out in the community somehow, just to talk about the center and just a one-on-one as everyone's out and about. And, you know, I try hard when I'm out and about, like to form relationships, like, you know, I've gotten to know Professor's Market well, and Noah's Pizza, and, you know, it's great just to kind of start up a conversation on the street. It can be that simple, and be like, hey, have you heard about the Pleasant Street Center, or, you know, something like that, and that can have a huge impact.
Yeah, little business cards.
And it's a little personalized too, because you're talking to them one-on-one. So.
Going back to Karen's concern, I think that there's some people here that would be able to take that list and do what Chris is suggesting. We can group some of those things. We can identify how we would want to accomplish weekly outreach to newspapers. So I think that those of us that feel comfortable doing that, I don't think it's a bad idea to also look at possibly hiring someone who could do a website, who could do a mailing for us. And I have a couple of contacts there that I talked with earlier that are doing work in Stoneham. It's that kind of work. It's about $10,000, what we're looking at to hire someone to do that. So my concern is I don't want to wait. It's September and I want to start doing things. That's my personal feeling. So,
I wonder if we can reach out, like you volunteer your time because of your expertise in computers. So you do, you do that session with seniors at the Pleasant Street Center and I wonder if we could tap in, if there's a senior, if there was a 60+ person that would be available to guide that.
I think that's something that's on the list. I mean, does anybody right here in this room or on Zoom know anybody?
I think that the RNN group would be a good resource.
Right.
Because most of them are retirees, but there are some that are still working. And it would be a good resource, I think, if we gave a presentation or had them come and speak. And mention what we want to do.
So, but
to get back to what Nancy's just saying though, is it might be well, especially right away, look at that low hanging fruit really quickly and get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah.
Because we tend to get caught up in a lot of things. So let's get the list cleaned up, see what possibly we don't need to hire someone for, and start getting the ball rolling on the low hanging fruit first.
Yeah.
And then I would say in the next meeting or something, okay, consider discussing, okay, we can do this, we can afford this. okay, let's
And-
select maybe some of the harder things that we need to reach out.
And those ideas are good, find someone that has that expertise.
Nancy?
Go to the RNN, wait a minute. But someone's gotta do it. So at this point, it's whoever makes a suggestion takes on that task. Because who's gonna do it? And I think that's part of putting this list together. So we can see what the jobs are, at least on a low-hanging fruit level. And then we need to get Council on Aging people to volunteer. Oh, okay, I'll write a letter once a month. Okay, I'll do this, X, Y, Z. We need people's names next to activities. That's gonna be critical. Because if we don't have names next to the activities, it's not gonna get done. It's
But
not-
I'll volunteer to be on a work group, but we need a group of people who can be there to do it,
In a work group,
in a
Oh.
work group.
yeah, as opposed to Zoom.
No.
Oh.
Zoom, no. No, I don't mean that. I mean, they have to be available to participate.
Oh,
Whether it
yeah.
be, but I know, but we all say that, but we've all got really busy schedules.
No, but it's, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Joan, wait a minute, Joan had something.
Oh, go ahead.
to say.
Oh, excuse me, Nancy, they used to be able to, do, mailings for all the seniors in town when we used to do mailings 3 times a year. So the town still has that ability to pull aside people 60 plus and what precincts they're in and stuff like that. They've always had that ability.
Okay, that needs to go on the list. So who could be in this work group to meet within the next 2 weeks? Probably, around this time, early, or it could be like 5:30. Okay. Nancy T. Nancy C.
Nancy,
Yeah,
quick suggestion. Do you think we should distribute this list to those members that are not here this evening and then host another specific meeting just for this? So they have time to think about this? I mean, because then it's gonna end up being
the only
same.
the only two people that aren't here are Debbie Small and Sally Hoyt. So, we can certainly, we can send it to them. But those are the only two people that aren't here.
But my thought was, I thought this was supposed to be a suggestion list that people look it over and give it thought. And then come with their hand raised that they're gonna do this, this, and this. Cause it
No,
can't just
no.
be a few
So,
people.
so this first meeting would be to take that list that we just generated and brainstormed. And as Chris suggested, clean it up, fill it out, group like things together. And then put it into a chart so people can sign up to do activities, to follow through on activities. Because if we don't get that, if we can't get a base, and this kind of goes back to what Karen said, the reason the library was so successful was because they had a core of about 25 hardworking individuals that truly believed in the need for an addition on the library. And when you talk to the director of the library, she sings her praises. Because without those 25, 30 people, this wouldn't have happened. And in order for this new senior center to really fly, we need worker bees. And if we can't get them, we're like dead in the water.
Add to the list.
I agree.
Reviews from
Yeah.
people who go to senior center program.
Right.
People who value it, people who know its shortcoming. We need to, the things this volunteer coordinator will one day do, we're gonna need to step in and do and recruit some people that actually are actively using it.
Yeah, because there was the same strategy that besides the library, also the Prop 2.5 override.
Yes.
It was the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is basically what we need to do, and it can't just be the COA.
I know.
Yeah.
And but it can start with the COA. We need to, everybody
Yeah.
has to know at least 3 people that they can pull into this. And and then those 3 people might know 2 more people. So we need to build this base. And going back to Karen's point, how you build that base, it would be great if there was someone who runs campaigns that could come talk to the group to say, in order to have this happen. But I don't think we want to wait for that person, but boy, I would love to find that person because I've been searching for them and I don't know where to go to get them.
We've got 1 senator and 2 reps, maybe they could give us some information.
Yeah.
As to
Put
somebody,
that on the list,
as to somebody that could,
please.
help with the campaign type.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, we'll put that on the list, and then someone's gotta put their name next to it in order to make that happen. So,
So do we have a work group that will
We
take
have-
this to make it categories?
we have
Report
Nancy
back?
T, Nancy Z, Marilyn S, Karen Fontino, anybody else?
I'll volunteer. Karen Panett.
Oh, you got 3 Karens.
That's what everybody needs.
Karens are the best.
Anybody
Amen to
else?
that.
What's that?
Isn't there
I
something
said
about,
amen.
I don't think so. What did you say, John?
I said there, is there something about Karen?
Nancy, put me on.
Okay,
We must be at a quorum.
We don't have a quorum, are we?
I think.
oh yeah, I
That's
think
right.
we're
It's
in quorum,
posted.
but that's okay, I just have to post it,
Right,
that's all.
wouldn't that be
I'll sign up
wonderful if we had experience of people wanting to come?
I know, so, I'm thinking, we need to look at our calendars. Today's the 11th. Let's see, we have next week, I would like to try to organize something the week of the 18th or the week of the 25th. Let me throw out a couple of dates. The 20th, the 21st, the 19th, I'm going backwards. 19, 20, 21. What's the easiest way to do this with all these people?
A doodle.
Doodle,
What's a doodle?
Sounds like a good job for a Karen.
a meeting,
A meeting link where
say what you
you
can
can
do.
throw out what would work and then you can see what would work for
Is it
everybody.
Everyone will respond like
It's an online.
for all the
it's an
days,
online
which ones work.
But what,
Mhm.
doodle? I can,
Unless we can come up with something right now for
Yeah.
at least the first meeting.
What about trying to pick a
For
date?
me, Mondays work good, just gonna throw that out there.
okay.
So next Monday and the Monday after, does that work?
How about the 18th?
That works for me.
That works.
What time?
I was thinking, like 5:30. I don't know if that cuts into people's dinner time, but I'm just thinking of people that don't also like to drive at night.
Which date?
The 18th,
5:30 works for me.
Works for me.
I can stay for an hour.
okay,
I'm good.
you're good?
And we'll meet here at, we'll meet in person.
Yeah, we really have to do this in person.
Where's the meeting gonna be?
I don't know,
Probably hold it at the,
hopefully, what?
probably hold it at the Pleasant Street Center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm, at the Pleasant Street Center.
Scene of the crime.
All right, and in the meantime, I will take that list and kind of do a first pass and just trying to organize and fill out some of the suggestions. And if any, and what I'll do is then send that list out to everybody again. But then people, if you want to respond to me, you have to do it as an individual. You can't hit reply all because of the open meeting law. You can add things to the list. But we can use that as a jumping off point. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I'll also put together a timeline. I think we'll look at the RFQ.
The RFP for the,
Q, ours is a Q. I think we should be dovetailing to the timeline of when decisions and actions are happening, so I'll get us a timeline, and it sounds like that's been updated since we last saw it, but
Yeah.
as soon as it's out, I will make us a timeline and
okay,
think that way.
Well done, everyone.
yeah.
So our
Alright.
next meeting is new agenda items, it seems like this is it.
Yep.
This is it.
New agenda items. Although, is there anything else, anybody that we talked about, want to put it back on, or?
T-shirts, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
T-shirts from those of us who are volunteering to help support the effort. They'll see us parading off to a meeting all dressed in whatever. It's like the emancipation of women wore white whenever they paraded.
So,
If you do have a couple of minutes, there's something I'd like to bring up. I had a private meeting with,
Wait a minute, is this on the agenda?
Well,
it's not, it's not on the agenda, but there's usually a thing at the end of the agenda that says business
I know,
not previously.
I
I'll take 2 minutes, Chris.
Did you add that, Nancy?
It's not something.
He's good, because we have till 8:45.
I had.
We don't know what it is yet. so
I had a private meeting with Senator Lewis today about a couple of things. One of the things we talked about was Senate Bill S 1143. If people want to look that up, I'd appreciate it. He suggested that it would be good if a council on aging supported it. And basic S 1143, and there's also House Bill 1724, which has got the exact same language. Basically what it is the whole flack that happened about when stopping gambling in senior centers.
Yeah.
You know, there was a $1 thing for bingo or a $2 thing for bridge. So a state senator put out a bill to allow it with a cap of something like $20 aggregate for a whole session. So if you had first place for 5 and second place for 4, you know, you wouldn't go higher than 20. And Senator Lewis suggested that I bring it before the Council on Aging. He knew that I was on it. And if members agree to send a letter to him, and he would send it on to the Judiciary Committee.
So we need it on our agenda for the next meeting.
Let's put it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
You know, it is, but if people have a chance to look it up and read it,
Yeah.
I think we'd be one step ahead of the game.
Yeah, that would be great. Can you draft a letter, John?
There's no sense drafting it until I find out whether everybody's gonna support it or not. Yeah, I could come up with a letter.
Well,
I'll come up with a letter.
Yeah, come up with a letter.
1143?
Yes, yeah, if the Senate one is SS 1143,
2 S's?
no, just say the last.
Alright, it doesn't,
1-1-4-3.
yeah, I don't, it's,
Doesn't come up.
And the house is
House is 1724.
So what do they wanna do? Put a cap on, how much you can gamble at a
Yeah,
senior
let's
center?
table that.
Yeah,
We
we're
can
gonna
table
table
this
that
until
to
next
the next
meeting. This
meeting.
is, yeah,
okay,
let's
there
go
it
ahead
is.
and.
I found it.
And John's gonna draft a letter and
Gotta put it on the agenda for next.
I'll put it on the agenda for
Yeah, that
next.
sounds appropriate for the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I
everyone.
just want to open people would read it beforehand, so it would be
Yeah.
that much ahead of the game, that's all.
Right, and one thing you can always do is ask Jenna to send something out to all of us, so there's no open meeting thing saying, please, take a look at this before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got something else I want to see Jenna about, so I'll find her.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Adjourn.
Second.
On, oh,
Gotta take a
Joe
roll.
Coco
Yes.
and Rosemarie,
Yes.
Karen Fontino. Yep. Karen Janowski. John Carson.
Yes.
Karen Panett.
Yes.
Dean Prado.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Debbie Small is not here. Nancy T.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.